I hate this delay. Hey guys, can you hear us?
Uh-oh.
Remember there's a delay. Thank you, Millbilly. Am I still echoing? I have it on mute.
Uh-oh.
Let me reverse this.
Thank you, Millbilly.
Oh my.
Am I still echoing? I have it on mute. Uh-oh.
Hi, Shauna.
Let me reverse this.
Hi, Scotch. Hi, Julie. Hi, Millbilly. Am I echoing? Wait. Oh, I don't hear you. I can't hear you.
All right.
Hi, Kim. Hey, Josie.
I have the
Hey, Wanda.
unmuted. I shouldn't be echoing.
All good now?
Ah, shit. I just flipped over an incense.
Hey, what's up, Bernard?
What's up, Bernard? Surprised to see you here. Reefer's right here. Hey, Wendra. Seriously, I hate the echo.
I don't hear
I mean, not the
anything.
echo, the delay.
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be a way to do it without a delay. I just haven't figured it out yet. So, Allie does not need an introduction, but in case you guys are wondering why we did this, a lot of reasons. But Allie and I talk for like hours on end on the phone about different things in the case. I'm like, you know what, Allie? We should really do this live because all we're doing is like discussing everything. And you guys know Allie knows everything about anything about this case, details, everything. So that's why I said, you know what? Let's do this together. So this way I will ask the questions that I get always asked and ask the questions that you guys want to ask. And then Allie can give the explanation kind of like we do on the phone, but this time everybody's like here listening. And yes, me and Allie also fight like a married couple. And anybody that's on Facebook knows this. But at the end of the day, I always have her back, and I believe that she always has my back. So it's all good. Despite what else is going on, Allie's given up friends for me for our friendship. So I mean, she's one person that I know is not talking shit about me behind my back or anything. So that's something that I just know. So we just have this weird kind of friendship, but at the end of the day, we always have each other's backs. We do fight like a married couple. We
Kim.
know it.
Hey, Stacy. And stuff like that.
Believe me, we totally know it. It is passion. And we're very opposite people, but we're very a lot alike. Allie knows. Yeah, she's actually given up friends. That's a long story.
I can make it really quick. It was basically like this. You can't be friends with her and friends with her at the same time. Yes, I can. I can be friends with whoever I want. If they don't want to be my friend, that's their problem. But I'm friends with everybody. That's it.
Thank you, Shauna.
Nobody tells me who to be friends with. Laura sure as hell doesn't, so.
Nope. No, Ben, real friends. And that's the other thing. There's been a lot of drama lately, and honestly, I really don't know why. But there's been a lot of drama, so Allie and I are here to join forces and say there's no reason for the drama. Allie is a great person.
Scotch.
All right. Friend with no, we're not friends with benefits. Okay. So before we start, is there anything you guys want to know? Because I know this is like live was like a total shock.
Before you start, have you guys like checked out Laura's eyes? That is amazing. Like, look at that. Her eyes are freaking beautiful right now.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, I just can't stop staring at them.
Aw. Anyone, what? Do y'all know if this is true? Jennifer, if what's true? Oh, Bobby's DNA were both tested. Bobby's DNA, I am not sure it was ever tested, but I can't say for sure. But thank you, Lisa. But there's like a secret behind this. My ex is coming tonight to drop off my son. So, of course your ex comes, you got to look like phenomenal. No, not that I don't love you guys or want to look good for you guys, but there's kind of a secret behind it. It's funny though, because when we were shopping yesterday, I asked the makeup artist, like, I don't know what color lipstick to get. And I was really like, she's like, this color would look great with your eyes, with your eye color. I'm like, there's no way I can go that dark. And she convinced me to do it. And I'm glad I did. I didn't think I could get away with it.
Looks good. Like your eyes look different, like really bright.
Thank you. That's the new palette my daughter bought me.
Damn, hook me up, daughter. I want some.
It's called Morph. Hey, Jennifer. Nope, you didn't miss anything. Hang on 1 second. What, Sage? Scooby! Me and Scooby made nice today.
Good. Hey, Scooby.
I started yelling at the screen. I was like, well, I know where that's coming from. You can do makeup tutorials. No thanks. I am definitely not like these other girls. My daughter wants to do them. But these girls like, zoom, 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 boom, done, and it looks perfect. I am definitely not one of those. Hey, Christabel, how you feeling? Christabel had surgery. No happy endings, T1. Thanks, Kathy. All right, so let's get right into this. So one of the things that I was talking to Allie about, and Scooby, I'm glad you are here, is that I think that people might get confused. I never, on the Reddit post, I never touched the DNA. I couldn't tell you the first thing about DNA. I don't know it. I don't want to know it. I stay away from it. But Allie thought that I was confusing DNA with the other stuff that Scooby explained all the DNA. And Allie explained it to me, which is awesome. But I was focused more on the numbers because everybody was so concerned with the numbers. And so I was trying to tell everybody the numbers really aren't that big of a deal as far as the actual numbers. It's just the sequential order that it went in. That's what the problem is. And that's like a whole conversation in itself. But the biggest thing that I happen to be looking into, and I didn't discuss this with Allie yet, so I'm not even sure if Allie knows it yet, was the blood that they found that was not anyone in the Averys. Allie, are you familiar with this?
Are we talking about CX from the quarry?
No, in his van, in his truck, in the Reddit post, the guy talked about that there were two, that there were two blood samples that they took that did not match anyone in the Avery household. There was Stevens, that was one, and there was two that had nothing to do with Steven.
I don't think I've heard.
And they don't know who it was. Oh, I thought you knew. All right. Juan, you're here. Juan, I'm sorry about before. I really am. He hits a nerve with me. I can't help it. And I am so sorry. You know I love you. Yeah, I don't deal with DNA. I don't even try to analyze DNA. Hell no. And I can't even say that, Scooby. I don't even say that right. Allie's. I call it Allie.
Allele.
Elias.
Allele.
Aaliyah?
Allele.
Allele?
Allele, yeah.
All right. So the S is silent. Allele. I can remember that.
Or alleles, either way.
Alleles.
So Millbilly, I think he's where did he say that? He said it was in the Pontiac in the Grand Am. He's talking about B2. That's something different, I'm guessing, than what Laura was just talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm talking straight from the Reddit post. They said that there was 3 samples of blood. 2 of them were unmatched to anyone in the Averys, and then there was Stevens. 3 of them. 1 of them was Stevens. 2 of them did not match anybody. But if you're not familiar with it, I'll save that for another time.
Yeah, I'm not.
I can explain that to you sometime if you want. Or I talked about it last night on another channel, but I'll have. Sure, Scooby. I probably, even as smart as I am, I probably still won't understand it even after you explain it. But I will be more than happy for you to explain it to me because I really don't get it, and I don't even try. Like
I tried to give her the rundown, the best I understood it as I could, because I don't know a lot about DNA at all. So, but I took what you said last night and I tried to translate it to her too, so she was aware of what you said. But yeah, I'm sure could explain it a lot better.
Okay, I hope so, Scooby. All right, so a couple things that I did want to talk to Allie about live was what we were talking about earlier. And one of the main things that we talked about was, now I totally lost my train of thought. Oh my God, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh my God. Allie, what were we talking about earlier?
I do that all the time. Girl, we talked about all kinds of stuff today. We talked about the Ken Kratz thing, or the bones.
Oh,
found.
that's what it was. That's what it was. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you, Christabel. All right. So one of the things that I spoke to Allie about was Allie had said to me that I wasn't right in saying that Ken Kratz was right about what he said. So we went back and forth. This is when I said I wanted to go live with it. The truth is, the way Allie explained it to me, she's right. But I think that a lot of people see it the way I had said it. And that was not that he's right, like that's actually what happened, but more like he's right about the fact that that Brendan did say that. So Allie, I'm going to let explain why she told me I was wrong. So after listening to her today, I agree that I was wrong, but it's kind of like almost semantics. But Allie, I'll let you explain why I was wrong.
Basically what Ken Kratz tried to do was what he always does. He tried to pull a little trick by not being specific and not saying that Brendan said that Stephen put some bones in a bucket and dumped them out in the quarry. He didn't say which quarry, he didn't say where, but he knows where they were. And he also knows what quarry Brendan was talking about when he said that, which Brendan's describing the Redant quarry just on the other side of the berm of the property line. He's not talking about the Manitowoc County quarry, which is where all 3 of the bone piles were. So, Kratz he's pulling a trick. And, a lot of people listen to that and they believe that, wow, Brendan did say that. But he knows that these are 2 completely different locations. They're very far apart from each other. And that's not what Brendan was saying. So it's just a trick. He's slimy, everybody knows.
And what exactly did Brendan tell him? All right, before I even ask you that, Michael's been bugging me. Michael, Allie is just like one of us. She's been in this case since 2016. She retains a lot of information and she can regurgitate information and she remembers everything and she studies everything. And if I ever like don't know something, I go right to Allie. Hey, do you remember this? Or do you know this? Or if I need a fact date, I've always gone to Allie. Like, hey, do you remember what date this is? Because I don't have that kind of time to like look at every single detail if I'm talking about something. But she just retains everything and like just remembers. So that's who Allie is. And she's a mod for Iracose. I've been friends with her for a long time, and she's my friend, and she's part of this case, and she's just like one of us. So that's who Allie is, Michael. And okay, so now I'll go back to it. So my next question is, if you think that Ken Kratz is lying, or that Kratz is lying per se, what exactly did Brendan say?
I'd have to like go pull that up to see. And I don't think I have like an actual screenshot of that part of this statement. So I'd have to search, and probably like dig it up. So I don't have it exactly to where I could like read it and quote it.
All right, but you know that he meant in the quarry.
Yeah, we actually made or someone over, I didn't do it. Someone over on Eric Josie's channel did put a map together to show the location of where Brendan was describing, which is just right along the property line. What is that? The west side of the property, where
Okay.
the trailers were all the way down, right there over the line into the Redant quarries, in that little strip. And then the actual bones were found like way over there in the Manitowoc quarry. So it's there was something like 1,038 feet between like the deer camp and to Stephen Avery's trailer. So it's even further than that. So if you can imagine that, that's pretty far distance of a difference from what Brendan was talking about and where they actually were. So I'm sure that Kratz knows this, and he is choosing his words very carefully to trick people.
Okay. And
Oh, look at Denise. Page 637 and 638 in Casso. All right, here we go.
thank you, Denise. Another thing is, speaking of Ken Kratz, why? I don't know why I'm like brain dead. Oh, do you really think, in your opinion, just an opinion, that he still has any influence on people in this case, or do you believe that he's done? Like, people don't even listen to him anymore.
Kratz?
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think that people would listen to him, because they would think of him as he probably knows more about the case than anybody aside from Zellner right now. So they would think that he's probably an expert. He knows everything. So whatever he says, he's grabbing that from his knowledge of the case that he put on and facts and stuff, and that he's not going to misrepresent. So yeah, I think people would just assume he's an expert on it and trust what he says. So he does a lot of damage, in my opinion. So it's good when Zellner pops out on Twitter and just says her little piece too. It's kind of ridiculous that they have to do that, but since Kratz has kind of started that, doing on all the the TV interviews and whatnot, it's good that we have like Zellner constantly active on Twitter, just counteracting everything he says. It's nice to have some truth put in there too.
Because in my opinion, she's doing the same thing he's doing, but reversed.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't realize that at first. And I said this last night, and I'll say it again, is that it hit me like a ton of bricks yesterday that she's doing this to cause reasonable doubt if and when she gets a new trial. So now there's reasonable doubt doing the exact same thing Kratz did, but reversed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really kind of shocked by that. And I was like, you know what? boom, there it hit me like literally like a ton of bricks. Now I see what she's doing. Now it makes perfect sense. So again, I apologize that I said it was smoke and mirrors, although I still think some of it is. But
Probably, yeah.
she is causing reasonable doubt in a lot of people's minds, including guilters. There is still some reasonable doubt.
So that's
Um,
a that's a pretty important thing to do, because when Kratz goes on and has this damn press conference that just completely taints every person that hears it, the future jury pool, and then they get called and they're on the jury. Of course, they've already got an opinion in their mind. He was very convincing. He's really good at, twisting those words in there and making you feel something and have an opinion,
mhm.
a strong opinion. So I love that Zellner does the same in reverse, so that we have at least a balance. The playing field is being leveled out every time she opens her mouth, and it's wonderful. I love when she does it.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did Brendan actually say the quarry? Did he actually use those words? And did it happen on March 1st or did it happen earlier
I
or
don't know.
later?
I was just reading that now. I bet Denise knows. I don't know that off the top of my head, because this is one of those things I did like 3 years ago, like right in the beginning. Was one of the first things I did was, I printed out every one of Brendan's um, interviews and interrogations and went through them and found who said what first. Where did each piece of information that became his March 1st confession, where did that come from? Who said it? So since then, like, I can't watch Brendan's interrogations anymore. I just can't. Like, it's too emotional for me. So a lot of that stuff is way old, and I hardly ever have to look it up. But stuff like this, like, I don't remember that exactly, like what day that was or who said that specific thing.
And you would agree with me. And Juan is talking about Denise is answering him. Um, Scooby, hang on one second. I just want to answer um Juan's question. So Juan brings up a good point. Denise is saying that it was said on the 3 interviews on 227. So basically they were feeding him this info. And I'm sure the night of his little vacation, they fed him even more. And that wasn't taped and that wasn't recorded and nobody has any information on that. So with that, I think what Juan was trying to get at, Juan, correct me if I'm wrong, is that, he may have said the quarry, but that's because it was all fed to him, which if that's true, that brings up a really, really interesting point that, you know what? They knew there were bones in the quarry, and that may be the point that Zellner's on. But I don't know if Zellner has studied Brendan's confessions because Brendan's not her client. So thoughts?
I would imagine she probably has. Yeah. And I've got it up here. It's on page 638 of Casso. And he does say that Stephen told him that he did it, that he had him in a bucket. And they asked him, and what I'm understanding is then in the back of both your yards or yards down towards into the pit over in that area. And Brendan said, in like Redant's pit. So they're talking about, like I said, just right over the property line into Redant's quarry. But if you have a big map, if you open up the map, you can see there's Redant's quarry, and then over here there's Manitowoc quarry. And the Manitowoc quarry is where they were all found. So they're huge. Like, these places are humongous. So like, if you're just gonna go and dump them in a quarry, why go way the hell over there? Because bones mixed with gravel or rock or whatever is gonna look the same here as it does there. Like, it's probably gonna be hard to find. Which is
Okay.
why, like, when the dogs went and were searching, they were looking in Redant's quarry. They didn't go out into the Manitowoc quarry. That's probably why they didn't find them. Like, they were all around like Cuss Road and the borders of the property, not like further out in that direction, in the right direction.
Okay. Scooby said, not sure if this is what you're talking about, but I agree. Not good chances of getting DNA from bones, but she exposed what was withheld during trial, Kratz blowing of bones given a family. Now, I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true or not, I can't confirm or deny it, but I read somewhere that that only some of the bones were given to the family, and legally by the state of Wisconsin, they're allowed to do that. I don't know if that's true or not. I couldn't find anything in case law about it, but it was something like that they're allowed to do that as long as they keep some in preservation. But I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, going by, let's see, I've got two different opinions on that, like that are, can they do that or not? And they don't agree completely. One is saying they cannot give any biological evidence away, destroy it, anything like that, um, until all people are out of prison who are serving time for that crime. But the other side is saying that's pretty much true. The only difference is that it has to be biological evidence and it has to belong to the victim. So, I mean, when you read that statute, it does actually say that and that little word is making it to where it's not real clear, on which way is it. Since those bones in the quarry weren't actually proven to be Teresa's, it wouldn't count as being hers. So were they allowed to do it? I don't think they were, but um, somebody I trust very much thinks that they were. So it's really hard for me to,
Okay.
know which is right until Zellner does something and we see.
Okay. Gleskow, I would absolutely not rule out Bobby. Bobby's been my number one suspect. But another suspect that I have that I had gotten from Allie was Josh Randon. So I want Allie to talk about Josh Randon because she was the original discoverer of Josh Randon. And I know Zellner had kind of ruled him out. I ruled him out because Zellner ruled him out. But there's a lot of little things like the dogs went right to the Randon camp. He's the one that said he saw a fire that never existed. There's a lot of little things that point to I'm not so sure he's so innocent, but I mean, obviously, I'm not there. I don't know the evidence. I'm certainly not going to go against Elnor. I mean, if she says he's cleared, well, I got to buy it. Um, so, Allie, what are your thoughts? Since you are the discoverer of Josh Randon, you were the first one to call it.
Well, I when I was going over stuff and I was looking at him, it always, the question was always there, like, why did he say that this fire was really big? Like, what did he actually see? And then you hear, you know, that the police were influencing him to change his story and make the fire bigger, kind of like what happened with Scott. And Scott did it. Redant was like, no, I'm not going to increase the size of the fire. So it took me a while, and I finally was just I think I came to the conclusion that he was probably influenced just like every other person in the family was, who changed their stories or added things or made fires bigger or something. I think he was just like that. Like, he came over to help. I saw this and they changed it into what they wanted it to be because it made Stephen look guilty and went with the narrative they were trying to form. Um, but then when Zellner ruled him out, yeah, no way.
Yeah,
I
I'm not going to
totally
go against her.
totally
Like,
trust
no,
what she came up
Zellner,
with.
you're wrong.
Mhm. I very much trust what she's come up with. Yeah.
Okay. So before we get into myths, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate, one to keep it exciting, but I'm not gonna play a guilter, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate of a lot of different mixes that I've heard, and then Allie's gonna tell the truth, or the reality of it. So before I do that though, does anybody have any like questions for what we talked about to date? Hey Chris. Um I don't see any. Juan's pretty active questioning. Yeah, Thrall said something that I agree with. Either the bones of THs in which it's evidence the state should keep, or they are not, and then they shouldn't give them to the family. Either way, they should have kept them. If the bones aren't Teresa's, or if it's not human, or whatever, why would they give them to the family, and why would the family want them?
I think that the state all along has known that it is most likely, even though not 100% proven, it is most likely that they are Teresa's bones, just like the ones in the fire pit. None of them were 100% proven, but he's convicted on the one in the fire pit that was closest match to her, I guess you could say. Not completely, but unless there's multiple victims, there's probably just one source of bones, like one body was burned and scattered in places. So
Okay.
I feel like those should have been considered also Teresa's, just period. They should have been considered hers, even though they weren't proven scientifically.
Okay.
Um, and I think so they did. I think, like, behind the scenes, they did consider those to be her bones, and that is why they went through and specifically picked the best, most likely human bones from the quarry. Because when I was researching it, I didn't even finish my research on it yet, but I was able to find 10 of the 23 tag numbers that came from the quarry that were human that they gave to the Hallbox. So out of 23, 10 of them came from the quarry. Yeah, they believe that that's her too. They damn sure do, or they wouldn't give the Hallbox animal bones. Like, I don't even think they're that shady.
Okay. Part of me just feels like, and I could be wrong, but part of me just feels like the cops aren't that smart. Manitowoc police were not that intelligent to be able to fool so many like people, and as far as like making them change their story and everything else. And I'm only bringing this up now because it's something that like I want you to think about before I start playing devil's advocate. Someone had mentioned it in chat, but it's just I hear a lot of things that they did, or what I don't know how to explain what I'm actually trying to say. It'll sound better when I do play devil's advocate. I just feel like they weren't that smart to be able to fool so many different people. Just saying.
Falcon, really quick. Legally, they might have been allowed to return the bones to Teresa's family, but morally, they know damn well that it's probably hers, so they wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? Like, that's they're handing the victim's family bones. Of course, they're not going to intentionally, knowingly give them animal bones. Like, they must believe that it is a very likely possibility that they are. I just feel like they um, use that little loophole, like, because they weren't proven, we're allowed to do this. And morally, I think that's wrong. You know, can't have it both ways.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna save my next question for devil's advocate. Scooby had said she agrees that some of those are TH's remains, but you had to have some detectives picking the bones out of the batches to give away. How would they know? And she's right. How would they know? Um,
They used Eisenberg's report to, which ones, like, is this item number, um, like I said, they chose the ones that the description in Eisenberg's report was most likely human. The ones that said stuff like um, human or possibly human or likely human, I think was the wording she used. Those they did give the Hallbox, but the ones that said not likely human or animal bones, they didn't give them. So they were using Eisenberg's report to determine which ones were most likely human to give them.
Okay. And Falcon said, which I completely disagree with, that Falcon said there are provisions for releasing the remains. You are incorrect on this point. But Falcon, I asked that earlier. We were discussing that earlier, that we never got definitive information of what you can give away. But on the flip side of that, how would the cops know which bones were hers? How would the cops know what bones? That's for who studies bones? Medical examiner?
Anthropologist, a
Uh,
forensic anthropologist,
forensic
or
anthropologist,
well, I might be wrong about that. Don't
medical examiner would.
I don't
I
know.
mean, they would know. Coroner would know. I just I don't know. There's something about it that just isn't right. I'm saying that to Falcon. I don't know how else to explain it to you. You and Ben. You can say whatever you want, but there are certain things that just don't add up. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you cut it, it just doesn't add up. The biggest thing that doesn't add up, and while Scooby's in here, she'll be able to verify this. You can't burn teeth. You have a certain level. I mean, they found one cracked tooth, which is ludicrous. You would not find one crack. I mean, you could find one cracked tooth, but your spine doesn't burn, your teeth, and then someone told me last night, I forgot, there's a layer around before the enamel. The shit just doesn't burn. You can go to a crematory and get burned at 3,000 degrees and there's still bones and you still have teeth and you still have parts of your vertebrae because it doesn't burn. The fact that they found a quarter of a tooth and little pieces of her body make absolutely no sense in any which way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter if she was cremated at a crematory, she would still have more bones. So when you put that with everything, there's just no way that this happened the way they said. None at all.
Which is another thing we were talking about today. What is Zellner doing? She's disproving the state's narrative, their theory that they use to convict Stephen. So she disproves that, she can probably get a new trial, like based on that.
And that's another thing that people are saying that I think is a really big point to like nail home is that Stephen, a lot like I'm sorry, I'm trying to watch chat and everything all at the same time, so I apologize if I'm not answering questions like normal. But as far as I saw somebody say, shouldn't Stephen have been treated as somebody with a mental, disability because he had an IQ of 70? But what needs to be nailed in that coffin is that they wanted Stephen guilty. They made Stephen guilty. Whether he's guilty or not is not even an issue anymore. They wanted him guilty. They made him guilty. They did everything they could to make sure that he was guilty. So they didn't care. He could have had an IQ of 20 or an IQ of 190. Didn't matter. They wanted him nailed and they made sure that they nailed him. There's nothing more to it. They didn't give him any leeway. They didn't give him any kind of possibility that it was somebody else. They wanted him guilty and they made sure that they made him guilty.
Did you see what Dirk said?
No.
He said, so if Steven says I killed her, but not like that, he should be released because the narrative is wrong. Well, that's a confession. So I would say probably not. I don't think he would even get a new trial. That's still a confession. Like
Denton. Thank you, Kathy. It's Denton around the tooth. Denton.
But I don't know. I'm not an attorney, and also Falcon, I did read the statute. And like I said, I'm not an attorney. So legalese is not my native language. I don't know. But from what I did see and the explanations I got from two people who do know legalese very well, like I said, they had differing opinions on that. And it does say the victim's remains, they had to keep those. That it did say that in that statute. From the way I read it, I'm pretty sure that's what it said. Like I said, one side is saying that they have to keep her remains.
Okay. Ben, I mean, I know I'm talking loud. I can't hear out of one ear. My ears clogged from my cold. I was. Oh man, now I just forgot. I lost it. Ben, I'll also answer that question as well. And I've said this before, you've heard me say this before, so I'm going to say it again just to reiterate. You can have a legal system that's based on something that's different for each party. People that are guilty do get out on technicalities, and people that are innocent end up going to jail. But that's how our system is, and our system is right 95% of the time. So, of course, during that 5%, they're gonna get it wrong. And what I read and what I learned recently is that technicalities are not they're trying to stop them. Like, they're focusing more on that than the fact that they're putting 5% of people in jail that are innocent. I'm not sure why. But well, I guess I do know why, because it makes more sense. But the truth is that's our justice system. So if he went to jail based on evidence or based on theories that were not true, you bet your ass he deserves to be out. You that whether you think he's guilty or not doesn't matter. You have to go by the justice system. That just like jury trials, people hate jury trials. But you know what? In most cases, they work. Casey Anthony kind of failed. OJ Simpson kind of failed. But the juries did what they, at least in Casey Anthony, the jurors did what they were supposed to do. They didn't base it on emotion. They didn't base it on the jury, on media. They based it on that the prosecution could not prove that case beyond a reasonable doubt. That's our justice system. That's what a jury is supposed to do. They're not supposed to base it on the media. They're not supposed to base it on personal feelings. And you get someone like Avery, and everything was based on personal feelings. And it sucks that it happened. But to take away a jury, you're diminishing our entire system. And if a system gets it right 95% of the time, consistently, I'm going to go for those odds. So they really are doing the right thing. They just happen to get it wrong once in a while. So yes, if answering the question in a nutshell, yes, he should be out. If it's proven that nothing in their narrative is correct, he should absolutely be out of prison.
I think wasn't that the problem with Casey Anthony? Like the state put on the narrative of Casey killed Kaylee and, did all these things, right? Like she just intentionally did it. And then she did this and she did that. But then when Jose Baez comes up and he's like, well, that's not how it happened. She drowned in the pool. And then her dad did the things. So there's the reasonable doubt. I think maybe use that as why did they come back not guilty? Maybe it was that, that sounds perfectly believable. I don't buy it, but what do you do if you're supposed to convict somebody based on did the state prove their narrative or not? And then he comes back with something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dirty Kratz trick, but
But it's not really, though. That's our system. That's how jurors are supposed to base things. Jose Baez did an amazing job of being a defense attorney. That's what defense attorneys are supposed to do. They're supposed to combat and put reasonable doubt in the jury's mind that even if the prosecution is saying it like this, it's possible that it could be another way. That's how it's supposed to go. I don't think there's a person out there that doesn't think Casey Anthony killed that child. I honestly have never found somebody. I mean, I'm sure you can find it online, but I've never truly found someone that I know that said, oh yeah, Casey Anthony's completely innocent. There was no evidence. The truth, I mean, seriously, I've never met one, but they're out there. But the bottom line is, you know what? That jury did exactly what they were supposed to do. And every single jury should be like that. But they're not, unfortunately. They base it on, the guy looked at me wrong. So that's it. He's guilty. Scott Peterson trial, he was totally judged in the media. There's just a lot of different things. Nancy Grace had me convinced that Casey Anthony was guilty from day one. Right. So I agree. And I used to like her then.
I did too, because she was attacking the right person.
Exactly. I agree. Stop, Mom. I used to watch her all the
I
time.
know. That drove me crazy too.
Now Bernard, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but Bernard is one of the few people I know that think OJ's innocent. And whatever, he might be, might not be, but OJ's their whole case was stupid. I mean, their entire case was if the glove fits, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Bottom line is, not only do they have latex on, but the glove is not going to fit because hands swell. He's gotten bigger in jail, and that glove
Arthritis.
is not going to fit with the latex on, and leather shrinks. It was the stupidest thing I ever heard. I don't know what BOL is. What's BOL? Scooby writes BOL. I don't know what BOL is. Oh, baloney, I'm guessing.
I think it's be on the lookout.
Oh,
Oh,
bark out loud.
is it?
I don't know. Hell, and leather shrinks. It was
Bark out loud.
exactly.
That's
Right,
cute.
all right. So, all right. So she agrees with me. Yeah, it was just the stupidest thing in the world. Mark Furman planted the blood in the Rev from the sink. That was cute, Ben. Barking out loud. I get it. I get it. So yeah, so that whole like argument about him being guilty to me, I mean him being innocent was retarded to me because that's to me that's common sense. And the prosecution didn't say it, the jury didn't think it. It was just dumb to me. But personally, I think he's guilty.
I would agree.
All right, so enough about OJ, enough about Casey. Me and Allie, I'm going to start playing devil's advocate. So I'm going to ask her questions that I've been asked that some of them I believe. So I'm not playing total devil's advocate, but a lot of things that I've discussed with a lot of you guys. So Allie's always fought me on them. So that's why we're going to debate. One thing I do want to say, because this is a different setting and I can see like the thumb up and thumbs down. Just for the thumbs down, and guys, take this information everywhere you go. YouTube algorithms do not know if it's a thumb up or thumbs down. So you can give 100 thumbs down to somebody. It means absolutely nothing to YouTube algorithms or ads or anything. They want to see activity. So whether it's thumb up or thumbs down, you're still getting activity. So I just want to make that clear. And if you guys don't believe me, you can look that up on YouTube. So before anyone does thumbs down because you don't like me, you don't like the video, whatever, I just need you guys to know that it does nothing. So that's all. All right. So the first thing that I am going to start with is something that you and I have fought about many of times is Kayla Avery, because you believe that she was coerced by the police. I believe that she believes and that she was honest with what she said. A lot of people are tossed in between. They don't know if she's guilty or innocent. They don't know if Brendan actually saw something or not, but they don't know. So this is my own personal feeling. I believe that Brendan did say something to her. I will always believe that. What he said, I have no clue. Could it have been something like Bobby murdered somebody? Absolutely. I'm not saying Brendan's involved. I'm not saying anything. But I firmly believe, and a lot of people believe, that she spoke in too much detail for it to be made up. And then later on in life, she now says, oh, the cops coerced me, blah, blah, blah. But she didn't say that then. All she said on the stand was she lied. You are a big advocate for her. So I want you to tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I believe that, from what I've seen and I've heard from, comments made on Facebook mostly, but pretty much everybody in the family, including Jody and Scott and Redant, they were all, I want to say, bullied. They were coerced in a way to try to turn them on Stephen. Like for example, what they said to Bobby was, um, he's going to point the finger at you. You better point the finger back at him before he does it to you, kind of like almost a threat. And then you see Bobby's attitude sort of change. And he is like, well, he'll stab you in the back, you know, because then before then he wasn't saying stuff like that. And so I do think that Kayla was, unfortunately included in that. They've all pretty much said that they were um, talked to by the police several times to, try to get them to turn on Stephen. And I think that there was also, this is just my guess, I don't know this for a fact at all, but I could imagine a scenario where um, the adults in the house are talking it over. They're talking about, oh my gosh, did Stephen do this? Could he have done it? And yeah, maybe he did. And what do you think about this? And what about that? And they're all talking about this, and the kids, like Kayla, maybe overheard. Maybe she was part of the conversations. And I know she had said something about having nightmares, and she was upset. Something about blood coming up through the floor and stuff. Of the garage or something, or of the concrete, or she asked if blood could come up through concrete. Anyway, so yeah, I think that she probably was. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you, but I can read a statement that Barb posted on Facebook. And this is crazy. She said they stuck Kayla in a cell and told her if she didn't say what they wanted her to say, she was going to stay there at the age of 14. Like, um, that's just a screenshot I grabbed off of Facebook that Barb said. And we don't know if that's true. It's just something Barb said. It kind of goes along with that possibility that she was coerced into saying something, turning on Stephen, and maybe thinking, I'm going to help them get him by coming up with the story. I don't think that she intentionally set out to throw Brendan under the bus and get him dragged into it. But unfortunately, that's what happened. And I think that's why she changed her story on the stand. She kept that story, that narrative, I guess, until then. And she's like, this is serious. Like, he's about to go to prison. Like, he's on trial, and now she's being put on the spot. Tell the truth. And she finally does. I think she did finally tell the truth on the stand, that it was just made up,
Okay. But at the same time, everything that she said ahead of time was long before the cops. And in my opinion, there was too much said for her. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm under the impression, or I guess I'm under the notion that not everybody can be a liar. And her guidance counselor, who said all this stuff, that Brendan saw something. Thank you, Brady. That he saw something that can't, like, not everybody can be lying. And that's one of the aspects of this case that bothers me, is that I get there's a couple of people that are, obviously. I get that, there's there is people doing things they shouldn't be doing. I don't know how else to put it. But not everybody is in this conspiracy. Not everybody is gonna make people say things. Like, with Kayla originally, there was just too much, in my opinion. There was just too much bullshit. And then all right, so even if the cops did say something afterwards, or when it finally came down to it, she still said stuff. We don't know exactly what she said, but she still said stuff about Brendan prior to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they clearly talked to her before she wrote out that handwritten statement. Like, what did they say to her? I would guess probably stuff like they said to Brendan, where they're planting little seeds and suggesting something. I know she knows details of the case. It's all over the news. Everybody in the family's probably talking about it constantly. There was a fire, bones were found in the fire pit, stuff like she knows these things. So she's probably also her family, whoever comes up with a scenario of how it happened, why it happened. And she's got this horrible picture in her head and she's put it all together and come up with a story. And I'm sure that they probably helped guide her in the way that they helped guide Brendan throughout his interrogations and interviews to come up with the March 1st confession. Um, that was obviously mostly fed to him. Who knows what they fed to her? Like we just don't know.
But she spoke to her counsel before that. This is probably one of the biggest points that I believe Bernard on, and that me and Bernard see complete eye to eye. And a lot of people do, and they don't want to admit it. So let me preface this with, no matter what she said, I still don't think Brendan and Stephen are guilty. And it's definitively they didn't get a fair trial. But a lot of people are afraid to say something like I'm saying because they're afraid that now people are going to think they think Brendan's guilty. I am 99% convinced that he was force-fed his exact confession on his little vacation that they paid for, which is completely unheard of. So I don't want anyone to take my line of questioning wrong. I absolutely think Brendan is innocent, and I absolutely think Stephen Avery is innocent. Even if Stephen Avery's not innocent, he still doesn't belong in jail. I know that sounds weird, but for those of you that know me, you know what I mean by that. So I just want to leave it at that. And I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression about what I'm saying.
Well, then
But
where does the story come from? You know what I mean? Like the story that Kayla comes up with, where does it come from? If he didn't actually see that, where did that come from? Like it can't be both ways, you know what I mean? Where she did see or he did see something and he did tell her that. Or do you think that he just made that up and he told her a fake story and then she repeated the fake story? Like how are you?
but the fake story, um she told her guidance counsel whatever before the cops were even involved. Like it was months before. It wasn't in the beginning, it was like months before. Then whatever she said to them, we don't know. But I remember in 2016, the guidance counselor came around and she was saying, oh, Kayla said this, Kayla said that. I didn't totally believe her because it was kind of like the exact thing that Kayla said, but I don't know. I can't explain why I didn't believe it, but I didn't believe it. But to me, there just had to be some kind of truth to it. Like the whole story couldn't have been completely made up. And I'm just wondering if you believe that there's any truth to anything she said, or if you believe it was completely made up.
Well, I mean, we know they go to her school and they talk to the guidance counselor and they talk to her and then she gives this statement. Um, but we don't really know that I'm aware of. Did they talk to her before that? Probably not. I can't imagine why they would, but like they did go to the schools. So who did they talk to at the schools? And I can't even remember where I saw that, but where they did go and visit the schools, the high school and stuff.
But a school is obligated to call the police. They're
Right.
obligated by law to call, service CPS. I can't even think of the word CPS or something. They're obligated to call. That's how the cops even got involved, was because Kayla went to them. They didn't go to Kayla.
Right. What I do think that she came up with this story probably based on things she was hearing. She was like I said, talking about nightmares or something and blood coming up from concrete and stuff like that. So I do think that she probably was upset about, could this have happened? Maybe she didn't know for sure and she was questioning it herself, the possibilities of how things happened, and she wanted to go and talk to her counselor about it and tell what she believed or thought she knew or whatever. I think maybe there was a point where the police kind of came in and, oh yeah, that sounds good, Kayla. Let's say that, that goes along pretty well with what we believe happened. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
they came in and put their little tweaks on her story before she wrote out that statement. But I do believe she did go to the counselor on her own for sure. Yeah.
Um, all right. The older brother was having a relationship. Okay. So, Oliver, I'm not going to dig too into this. Jill, she was on the stand. Whose kid is she?
Earl.
Kayla.
Earl's
Who?
daughter. Earl. Steven's brother, Earl.
Earl. I thought you were saying Carl. That's why I was like, who? Um, Jill, she is Earl's daughter. And Oliver brings up a good point that I'm not going to get too into, but taking a guilter side of it, they called CPS or whoever they called for this incident that she claims she was having these dreams. Is there a reason, in your opinion, that nobody tied that to what was happening or what had happened in the past with her own dad? It do you like what's your thoughts on that?
I'm not really sure how to answer that, but it did make me think of something else. Um, I'm sure everybody probably has seen all of this where Stephen was talking about having a bonfire on that Thursday, the 3rd, and inviting all the kids, Kayla and Blaine, and Blaine was going to invite a girl from school. And then it ended up not happening. Barb and Stephen got in a fight over um, Stephen saying that the kids aren't going to graduate and her parenting style and his not agreeing. So they were mad at each other. And then Blaine's female friend, didn't want to come. So it ended up not happening. But also over here with Kayla, she did ask Earl if she could go to that bonfire. And Earl said something in one of the police reports um, about he was concerned about Kayla and Steven's relationship.
Okay.
Like he thought that she was infatuated with Steven. I think that might have been his wording, something like that. He didn't like their relationship. Like she clearly liked hanging out over there and she liked Steven. So something changed her into making that horrible statement that she made with the police. You know what I mean? Like something happened to change her opinion of him. And if she did believe Steven killed this girl, that could have been all it took. If he killed this girl, now she's like, screw that guy. I hate him. Um, or the police could have encouraged her to feel that way. I don't know what happened. It could have been Earl, maybe. I don't know how that would have happened, but somewhere in there, in a very short time period, her opinion changed of Steven quite a bit.
You've been friends with the family. You know the family personally. I have stayed away from all of them. Answer me this, and I don't mean this comically, but I really do mean it. Steven is a 5'5" or 4 little midget who's chubby. And I'm talking when he got out of jail, who's not attractive, who has an attitude. Um he's got anger issues and he just spent 18 years in prison. Could you please tell me why everybody thinks he's adorable in his own family? You have Kayla that may have liked him. You have Marie who was sleeping with him. Can you just explain this to me? Because I don't get it.
I mean, I don't know Steven at all. Never written him, nothing like that. I don't really I don't know. Like I think there's probably a combination of he might be like the cool uncle or the cool whatever he is to all these kids, um, where they get to go and hang out and have fun, and he lets them have fun. Um, Probably a combination of that and money. He's about to be very rich, so it's probably got some influence. I know that he was kind of throwing that around and pissing some people off when he would do that, like
Okay. I don't know.
maybe just a guess.
I just
I
had
don't
to
know.
throw that out there, like, because I mean, the one thing that Mike Kelly said, and he's kind of right, is all the incest that goes on in that family, and it's not a secret. I mean, everybody knows about it, and it's just crazy. Like, but the fact that all the girls like wanted Steven to me is just weird. Or that, I mean, I could see Earl because of who he is, why he would get jealous and whatever, but I'm not getting into that. But yeah, I don't know. The whole thing just seemed really weird to me. And I was like, he's not like this, Adonis. He's ugly. So I just wanted your opinion on that.
I had a crush on my uncle, when I was a kid. I did. A
Really?
teenager. Yeah, well, my uncle was very hot. I mean, he just was. Sorry. I mean, I was a teenage girl. And of course, I look at like Richie Sambora and I'm like, dude, he's like the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life, right? But I'm like 14 years old and he's a lot older, so I could see that, having some sort of attraction with, to an older person, especially one who's going to have a whole lot of money. Um, if that's, I'm not saying that's what was happening with Kayla. I think that was just what Earl suspected, but, you know, they liked him. They liked hanging out with him. One day maybe he'll buy him a house and a car and stuff if they're cool. I don't know. I would think like a kid would. My rich uncle's cool, he's cool. He likes to hang out with us and he's gonna have a lot of money. He'll probably hook us up someday when he gets it. Because he did talk about taking care of the family and stuff too. So
And Stacy, just to address what you said, I said that not kind of because I didn't want anyone questioning it, but since you brought it up, when I said that everybody knows about it, because it's not a secret that Chuck was just in the paper a couple of years ago for putting a video camera in the bathroom, and watching everybody go to the bathroom. That was just like 3 years ago. Through 2013, if I remember correctly, and then Earl had issues with Kayla, but that's why I said I'm not going there. So I'm not gonna go there. So I'm gonna zoom right past this.
me too, because I don't know about it. Honestly, I don't care
Oh, it
about
was
that stuff.
Earl. Thank you, Sean. It was actually Earl.
I thought that was Earl, but it just rumors that I had heard. I've not seen any confirmation or what was done about it. If anything, I don't know about it. Just I heard rumors as well.
Okay. So that's why I said I'm just gonna zoom right past it. Um, Another thing that gets brought up a lot that people seem to have a hard time understanding or relating is the Jody incident. Um, did Jody really take rat poisoning? Is Jody really this psycho drunk? What, in your opinion, is the reason that Jody changed her mind? And if he got a new trial, do you think the defense would use Jody as a witness? I mean, not the defense, prosecution.
Wow, I never thought about that. Who knows? She's she's got a record. I mean, probably not anymore. I mean, I'm just guessing, of course, I don't know, but probably not any more than the jailhouse snitch guy, because you would think that the defense would destroy the credibility, you know, by throwing up their record and stuff like that. But, as far did she eat 2 boxes of rat poison? Hell no. That's that's just a damn lie. I think she probably did something. Maybe had a little bit of rat poison. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen the hospital records or anything like that, or if there was police reports on that incident to see what did she actually do. Why was she in the hospital, or was she in the hospital? Like, I don't know why she would say that. I think she's bitter. She's angry. Like, do you think, personally, I don't think that she was there with him for the right reasons in the first place, you know?
Okay.
So it was pretty clear, like and I don't know if it was just because she's on camera or if it's because she just really wasn't actually in love with him. She's clearly talking about marrying him and stuff, but I have a feeling it was probably for money, especially if there's all that violence that led up to that. Now you're up on Make Your Murder, smiling, and I love you, and I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I, yeah, I think I have some issues with a lot of the abuse parts
Okay.
of it with Jody. Like I believe it happened. I do believe it happened. And why she's still going to marry him, I think probably, like I said, for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
So when that chance was taken away from her to get rich from marrying him, um, yeah, it just seems like she turned on him and she's like, he's guilty, and because he's not going to marry me and give me money and stuff now. Because he's in prison, like screw that. He's obviously not going to be out here to give me money. Like he's not going to get that money anymore. And then she's like, she's gone. I think the moment he settled, it was probably done for her. The money is out of the picture. She's out of the picture. Bails.
Okay.
That's what I think about her.
Michael, I want to address what you said. He did not kill cats. There's no plural at the end. He killed a cat, which is still debatable, which was going to be my next question. But there's no S at the end. It was one incident. Stephen did not have a violent, didn't have this horrendous what's the word I'm looking for? A psychopathic history. He did stupid shit, but it wasn't this major crime that he wasn't on this major crime spree like, some of the other criminals out there. He didn't kill animals. He made a mistake and killed one animal. Granted, it's one too many, but it's very important not to have that plural at the end because he wasn't, the son of Sam. He didn't go around killing multiple animals. It's very important.
Well, there's
Um,
two people. God, what is this document?
I'm gonna grab my vape. Hold on.
For page 6 of the what does that say? Preliminary set of motions, whatever the heck that is. Jerry Yonda provided a statement. I was at Stephen Avery's house on Monday afternoon, 8/31/82. We decided to build a bonfire. Stephen built the bonfire. Steve then said, let's burn the cat. Steve then chased the cat around the yard till he caught it. Steve then poured gas and oil on it. I, Jerry Yonda, picked up the cat when Stephen told me to. I then threw it in the fire. And I'm not going to read the rest of that crap. And then Peter Dassey on September 1st, 1982, gave the following statement. Stephen said, let's burn the cat. He started a fire first. They got the cat. Steve poured gas and oil on it. Jerry threw the cat in the fire. So that's two people that gave statements that said Jerry Yonda is actually the one that threw the cat in the fire. Steve helped. Like he is completely part of this. But he did take the blame, even though the statements both say that it was actually Jerry that did it, that threw the cat in the fire. Still disgusting, awful. I don't even want to tell you what I think about that. I think it's awful, but I don't think it's one of those things like you murder
Can you
animals.
post that document link? Renee
Me?
Renee just asked if you could post it.
It's not actually a link. It's a screenshot. Is that okay?
How can you post a screenshot? Can you?
Can you put it up on your screen if I send it to you?
I could. Actually, I can't because this is Hangouts. I'm not using OBS.
Oh,
You can screen share.
well,
I can.
here.
You can screen share it. Do you know how to do that? Hit the green button on the arrow on the side of Hangouts.
All right. Hopefully this doesn't cause a big mess. I'm going to try it. All right. Just a second. And I'm not, hopefully you'll be able to see it.
There you go.
Okay. Is it too small?
Yeah, it is. Can you make it bigger?
let's see, there's the statement right here. Is that big enough?
There you
Or
go.
should it go a little bigger? Okay. This is the first statement from Jerry Yonda right here. And this is in some kind of, let's see. I think this is going to be something when they were trying to introduce this into the trial, to show like Stephen's history and stuff. This was probably part of that. Yeah, we're gonna introduce this into the trial to show what kind of person Stephen is. He did this. Like, and here's Peter Dassey's statement right here. Can you guys see that? Okay.
Yeah, it's you can see it. At least I can.
And then this is, their conclusion. It's in one of the filings, and I think it's called, it's page 6 of the preliminary set of motions, whatever that is. Is that good?
Perfect.
Cool. Okay. There we go. That's awesome. I've never done that before.
Yeah, we use Hangouts for work. Hangouts I am an expert on.
I should be. I've been using it forever.
No, it's a good app. I heard it's going away, which breaks my heart.
I hope not. That's what I use for my phone.
It's going away. Scooby says I picked up a cat in my mouth and was horrified. The lady, but in my defense, that thing was scratching me in the face and hissing. All right.
She's talking about her dog. Her dog Scooby. Not the lady Scooby.
Hey, Janelle. All right. So another question that is burning, that is repeatedly asked over and over and over, is without making it, without bashing in any which way, shape, or form, there's a lot of talk continually that Barb knows something. There's continual talk that Barb sold Bobby out. And I'm not just the one that says
Brendan.
it, but yeah. Barbara sold Brendan out for Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
Being that you were involved with the family and that you knew them and spoke to them, forget Zellner saying Bobby's guilty. I'm talking before she even said that. What do you think? Or even going by the conversation with Barb in that jail fight, combine these two things. And the biggest question is when she says, oh, you're going to have a dead sister. A lot of people think Scott meant that he was going to kill her, which is, to me, that's not what she meant. I think she just meant she was going to have a heart attack. But what are your thoughts on it? And do you believe, and you're very pro Brendan. I focus more on Stephen. You focus more on Brendan. What are your thoughts on that? And do you believe that she sold one kid out for the other?
I don't. And as far as that statement goes where she said you'll have a dead sister, I agree totally that she's not talking about Scott killing her. She's talking about, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown, probably die from a heart attack because I can't handle the stress. I mean, if you can imagine, her son is in prison, her brother and her husband are fighting and screaming, and there is accusations flying all over the internet towards her husband, towards her other son. She's probably completely, rightfully losing her mind. I mean, that's got to be extremely, extremely hard to deal with. But personally, I have not spoken a lot with Barb. I don't have a personal relationship at all with her. But I've had small conversations with her here and there that she probably wouldn't even remember. They're not detailed at all. I just have, like with that phone call, a lot of accusations about Scott being abusive towards her. Personally, when she screamed at him to shut up, and he did, and he just walked away, like you could tell he walked away, and then she's it sounds like she just collapses on the phone. She's like, I can't take this no more. We got to stop. Um, I really, I mean, if Scott's abusive, I think Stephen being on the phone is the focus of his anger and his rage that he's screaming and out of control right there. If she was being abused by him, I think he probably would have knocked the crap right out of her if she screamed at
we're
him
going
like
head
that.
to head on this one. I absolutely disagree.
Good.
You cannot base one thing that he acted on in that moment. You have no idea if he beat the shit out of her after that. There is nothing in this world that will ever make me believe that she's not an abused woman in every which way, shape, or form. Maybe he doesn't beat her regularly, but he's so obvious an abuser. I mean, you can see it in her and how fragile she is. And, I believe, I can't say for sure, but I believe he's probably much smarter than she is. And you can just see in her mannerisms, the way she talks, everything, how much power he has over her. So just because she said that one thing and he freaked out, please do not eliminate his complete abusive nature. I mean, look
Yeah.
what he did to his own mom, his ex-girlfriend, the mom of his kid. Like, he's fucking
Son,
crazy.
that the ex-girlfriend's son, all that just had me raging. Like I was so angry about, you know, yeah, I think he's definitely got some violence in him for sure. I don't, like you said, I don't rule it out completely that um that he is or has been abusive towards her. Um, but I would think, just from my own experience, that it's not it's not regular. Maybe it doesn't even happen anymore. It just felt like there's no fear, like she didn't have a fear that a regularly abused person might have. I don't want to provoke him, because he'll turn that rage on me. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I said, I can't, because it's there in his criminal history. It's that he is violent. So I'm not saying that it's not possible. Definitely, just my opinion. Was he like physically abusive to her at that time? Maybe not.
So
But
what exactly happened with the Bert wants to know what exactly happened with the ex-girlfriend's son.
oh, he was going. I think they were breaking up, and I'm just trying to remember this off the top of my head. I think they were breaking up, and he had come to her house to get his stuff, and uh, they were fighting. The ex-girlfriend and him were fighting and arguing, and he was pushing her around, and I think he might have even hit her. I'm not even sure about that, but um, the her son, I think he was 12, if I remember right, tried to step between, and he either hit him or knocked him to the floor or something. Like 11, he was 11. Yeah. So he was just a little kid trying to protect his mom, and he got hurt in the process, like, mm, yeah, turning that violence and that rage onto whoever is right in front of him, which is kind of what I was talking about, like with Barb. Um, his violence and rage was directed at Stephen, but then Barb just put the focus on her by stepping in between. And that would be somewhere that I would maybe expect him to lash out at her, like turn that anger and rage on her, because she's right there and Steven's on the phone and he can't do anything.
All right,
So
Andy said that he punched him in the chest.
yeah, I know he hurt him. You cried or something, like he got hurt. I think he knocked him to the floor. It's just violence towards a child. Just, yeah, don't even get me started. Rage.
Okay. Now, one of the Greg, no, there's actual documentation on this. This is all on police records.
Yeah,
This is all on court documents.
he's got it's on his record, I think.
All right, so observant said one of them is the actual kill and the other one is a helper, just involved. I don't think it was Bobby who primary carried this out, but Scott. See, observant, I think the exact opposite. I'm pretty convinced that Scott is not the murderer. Bobby's the murderer. Scott helped clean it up. And Mike O is also involved in that it's Mike O and Scott. I mean, Mike O and Bobby, and Scott helped do the cleanup. I'm pretty convinced of this.
If I was to go on a Bobby Scott theory, I absolutely would probably throw Mike in there too. Yeah.
100%.
I don't believe it was, but that's just.
Oh, I do. There's
Yeah.
too much evidence, way too much evidence that, and I don't mean evidence like, Zellner's evidence. I mean evidence pointing to Bobby and Scott. Mike thrown in the mix. What makes me confirm Mike even more is Mike wasn't on anybody's radar. He wasn't. He wasn't on Kratz's radar. He never went on the stand. I recently did a video why Mike is involved, and all of a sudden his Facebook is gone. Like, because I made it a point to say that his Facebook had a lot of pictures of him and Bobby and that they were inseparable. And, all the evidence against Bobby with the computer stuff, that could have been Mike too. Just because it wasn't anyone the Dassey family doesn't mean it wasn't Mike, Bobby's buddy, who came over. Yeah. So once I blew this up, now all of a sudden Mike eliminates his Facebook, which I found really interesting. And because Zellner never mentioned him, nobody's ever mentioned him. But all of a sudden it was gone. And I was like, wow, that to me proves even more guilt that Mike's involved. All right, so Juan said, what about their motivation? Their motivation is something that I don't know. I don't know why Mike and Bobby would be serial killers, but I also don't know why they would look up. I'll say Bobby because it was his computer, even though it could be Mike. I don't know why Bobby would look up horse cum. I don't know why Bobby would look up, like I've looked up snuff stuff. I'm not going to lie. I've gone into the dark web. I want to see what it's about. I'm not going to lie. But I'm not looking up horse cum. I'm not looking up, dead body. Well, I've looked up dead bodies, but I'm not looking up the sick shit that he looked up. That's beyond curiosity and goes into real sick. So, and he's a hunter. I'm not a hunter. He likes skinning. As I said last night, who the fuck goes and, looks for roadkill to skin it? And like, unless you plan, you need to know how to do it because you're planning on doing something. Maybe Teresa was an experiment. Who knows? There's millions of things that could be motive. I just don't know enough about the actual details, like the actual evidence, because I'm not a cop on site. But believe me, if I was, I'm sure I could find tons of motive. Bobby was into decapitations and mutilations. That was his motive, possibly.
And Zellner kind of says what she believes his motive was that he was into that sick stuff and the violent porn, rape, torture, and mutilation. That all that stuff is, it could be a sign. Like I think that's what our expert said, of some sort of thing that might progress into wanting to do it for real.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I believe that it's very possible that that's what happened. Dirk, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I said, and I'm going to say this again, and I've said this from the beginning, from 2016, that Mike has been involved. I also said, I had put out since that's my eyes are burning. I also said yesterday that I am 100% convinced that Bobby is the murderer. I am 100% convinced that it was Bobby that looked up those searches. Now, if his buddy was over there with him, Bobby was still looking it up. So if you want me to, make that clear about the 110% or the 100%, yes, I do believe that Bobby's involved in making up those searches. Whether it was solely him, I have no idea. But I kind of believe that him and Mike were in this together. So there's your answer. And yeah, Mike hunts together. They work together. They do everything together. And I agree with you, Fun. Good night, Jillian. Thank you for coming. And there is always a first time, and I agree. There was some questions I wanted to answer. So I'm trying to think of some of the other QT just made my list of suspects. I am guilty, T1. But I would never burn somebody, and I would never cut somebody up. So I'm trying to think of some of the other myths that I hear. Guys, help me out here. What myths do you guys hear that you want answers to? Those are the top 3 that popped in my mind that I was thinking about. So give me some questions that you guys have so I know. Mike H and TH former oh, that's Michael Peterson. You just reminded me. All right. A lot of people here have watched Dave Bagoda. A lot of people here question if Dave Bagoda's video is real. So there is a rumor that started from someone, which will leave nameless, that, and guys, most of you probably did not hear this theory yet, so listen carefully, that that Teresa was burned in the trailer that was attached to the sign that they found at Avery's house that had the address of this trailer on the back of this for sale sign. And this for sale sign, for those of you new to MAM, you may not understand this, but for older ones, you will understand this, that this trailer was for sale. It burned on, I believe it was November 1st, or it was the 1st it burned, because everyone was saying that there was this huge fire and blah, blah, blah. And it turned out to be the trailer on Cuss Road that Stephen Avery had the sign for with the address on the back.
Xander Road.
3302
now, Xander Road.
Yes. Now, the rumor has it that Teresa was burned inside that trailer because Stephen was with Marie at the gas station that Dave Bagoda said, and Steve doesn't want anyone to know that Marie was with him, but they had to figure out what they were going to do with the body, and all of them, not just Stephen, not just Brendan, like all of them, brought Teresa to that trailer and burned the trailer and burned her. What are your thoughts on this?
Rumor. I don't know. I mean, theory, good theory. Definitely worth looking into, I would think, especially by the police. Like, the police should probably look into that and more details. Like, did they search the ruins of the trailer after the fire? I mean, I don't know any about that at all. I do know that 3302 Xander Road was on Steven's computer. Like, he did a search. I believe it was a Zillow search. Actually, I have it right here. The realtor was McCauley, Wade T. McCauley.
Okay.
Yeah, so I looked it up. It was the realtor, the listing, all that crap on Xander Road that was on Steven's computer, like in the printout. So I know he definitely was thinking about buying that property. He was looking at it or thinking about buying it or whatever. So I could see why that address was written there. So if he did kill Teresa and he did put her in the trailer, I would think that they would have, searched, especially if you suspect arson. Wouldn't they investigate that? You would think that they would. I don't know. I have not seen police report anything like that. Like, what was the explanation for the fire? I have no idea.
I was reading, Jay had asked a question. I was just reading it. Have you ever saw a body and face reading video of Stephen? What? Oh, you mean like body language? I'm assuming. But yeah, but you know what though? I'm gonna address this first. You can't go by Steven's body language. There is not an expert in the world that can judge his body language because he spent 18 years in prison. He was so institutionalized when he came out. 18 years of yes, ma'am, of yes, sir, no, sir. They tell you when to take a shit, when not to shit, when to stand. Yes, sir, when you wake up. He was so institutionalized that nobody would be able to read that body language. You spent 18 years in max security prison for rape, no less. You are going to learn how to be as stiff as possible. So, any body language expert that tries to read someone who does 18 years in prison, I can't give credit to. All right.
I mean, okay, when I say theory, um, I should be clear. I'm more talking about possibilities. Like in that case, that one I would call more possibilities. Like it's a possible thing. Somebody should look into it and see like what did the police report say? Was there a police report? What about the fire inspector? I guess who would investigate if it was suspected arson? Like, is there a report on that? And if not, then I don't know. I mean, what do? You can't really do much with that if there's nothing to support it and turn it into a good theory based on facts. Like, I think that's the difference. I think it's good to have those ideas and think outside the box and go, maybe we should look into this. That's always a good idea. Maybe we should look into this, but it needs to be looked into before you can really, judge or whatever, or call it. I mean, I wouldn't call it a theory. More just an idea, um, something like that.
Okay. All right. So another question, I'm trying to think of other points that people, guys, help me out. What other rumors have you guys seen or you guys heard, or any questions of rumors that you guys have? My mind, I'm trying to think, and I can't really think of the ones that stick out because I certainly know there's a lot of them. Misconceptions.
Well, like I have a question for you. Maybe while we wait and see.
Okay.
Like I've always wondered this, and I ask
questions, woman. I don't get asked questions.
Well, I usually ask people who believe Bobby's the killer, like perfectly reasonable explanation for why do you think Bobby's the killer. Well, Zellner's argument is very convincing. Her theory on it is very convincing. She's got a lot of circumstantial evidence and maybe actual evidence to back that up, and experts and everything. So it's really good theory. So I can see why people believe it totally. But how do you explain the day planner? Like, how do you and other people who believe that, how do you justify, Ryan having the day planner and having information he shouldn't have had? I always ask people that because I'm curious.
Really wanted to go there with me. Like, you really want to go with it.
It's an interesting conversation to have.
So the day planner. Let me just start with saying my feelings about Bobby being guilty are long before Zellner came out with it. Everybody knows that. I have videos to prove it. The reason I'm going to do both, I'm going to answer both of these. The reason why I strongly believe, and Spicy, I'm going to answer your question in this answer as well. The reason why I've always believed that he's guilty is the lies. There is absolutely no reason for Bobby to lie the way he did. And this is before the computer. I knew nothing about the computers. That was his brother on the stand. Scott's smirk said it all. But the fact that Bobby and Dietering's conversations, which I may have remembered then, but I mean, it was a refresh now. But Bobby's lies, the way he worked with Kratz, the way he you never knew who to believe. But if my brother was on the stand for murder and my uncle was, there is no way in holy hell that I'm going to turn against my own cousin. I don't care if I hated him or whatnot, because if I turn against him, then I'm turning against my own brother. And if somebody that's innocent is not going to do that, somebody that's innocent is not going to allow the prosecution or anybody, even if you're in a dysfunctional family, nobody's going to allow their brother to take a fall like that unless they have something to hide. Because by the time Bobby went on the stand, they already knew that Brendan had a confession. They already knew that Bobby already knew he was in the clear. So because he was in the clear, it makes it even more obvious that he's guilty, because he absolutely had no reason to lie. It's not like anyone promised him that Brendan was going to be out, or that Brendan was, not going to be charged with this if Scott told the truth. I'm sorry, if Bobby told the truth. So that's the main reason why I have always said Bobby's guilty. Then Zellner comes out with all this new information about the computer and everything else. And I have to agree with her. Okay, that makes sense too. And that only further confirms what I've already said. But it's just too many lies. And when you have that many lies, there's no argument. Like, it's just so blatantly obvious. Scott even telling Kratz how that Stephen molested Brendan. Stephen was fucking jail Brendan's entire life. When did he molest him, Scott?
Right.
There was too many lies. And, even Scott standing, like, I don't remember which interview it was, either the 4th, the 11th. I don't remember exactly which one in November. But Scott turned around and said that that he didn't know the name of Barb's son that was standing next to Stephen. Really, Scott? Because you're cousins with Pete Dassey. So you've known this family for a long time. Now all of a sudden you don't know one of her sons, but you go hunting with the other one. There were just too many lies. All of that combined is why I've always said Scott and Bobby were guilty, because there's no reason for them to lie after Brendan was already in jail. Like, I could see lying maybe before. And also, Brian told the cops to talk to Bobby on November 6th when they got pulled over in Stephen's car, which throws a whole nother wrench in this mix. Because when I read the thing on Reddit about, and I'm still getting to the question, but when I read the thing on Reddit about the blood and everything, Brendan and Brian had Stephen's Grand Am on the 6th because they got pulled over in it. I've been thinking maybe Brian's involved, but it still leaves Brendan in that mix. I just found that very weird, and I haven't found the total connection yet, but wouldn't that be a throw for a loop if it was Brian that actually did the killing? But Shauna, to answer your question real quick, is I believe, I can't prove, maybe Allie can. I can't prove or disprove, but I was told Bobby was a pot dealer and Teresa used to buy pot from him. I've never been able to confirm it. It's not like anyone's going to say, yeah, that's true. But that is a rumor that had gone on for a long time. And I do happen to believe it to be true. I mean, she's 25. We know she smoked pot. So I would not give that theory credibility. And Greg, shut up. And for your question, the day planner. My theory is that Ryan found the car. Whoever moved the car, Ryan then found the car. Once Ryan found the car, the day planner was in it. Ryan is the same person that pulled the digital camera micro card out and put it in the back seat. I firmly believe Ryan was involved in the planning. And there's evidence to back this up. If you look at why was he on site, why was he at the command center, why was he allowed on a crime scene, there's plenty of evidence to back up that Ryan planted evidence. So Ryan having that day planner very easily could have been that it was left in the car. And because it was left in the car, when Ryan found the car, he went into the car. He had a key, went into the car and took her day planner. That's my theory on the day planner.
Okay. Well, I would just have to ask because Ryan is called, well, Teresa's reported missing, Ryan is called, and 2 hours after she's reported missing, he's making a call to Steve Speckman. So he's already got the day planner. So he would have had to heard that Teresa was missing and not actually gone straight over to her house like he said, and everybody else said that he did. He would have had to go immediately out and search and find her car and then get into it and then grab that day planner for some reason and then come back to her house within 2 hours. The distance between Teresa's house and the Stevens is like 30 minutes or something. So that cuts out an hour. So he's got an hour to search. So that couldn't have happened. He did have physical possession of the day planner on the 3rd by between 4:10 and 4:30, I think it was.
Okay.
So that's a very, very short window to search for the car, find the car, open it, get back there, and whatever. He'd have to be really damn lucky to find it. But, at that point in time, nobody should have known that she had been to Stephen Avery's. Auto Trader knew that she had been to the Avery property for appointment with B. Yonda, but not to see Stephen specifically. So there's that problem. So why, I can see maybe if Ryan somehow had called Auto Trader and they told him that information or something, or maybe the mom did and they told her. But I don't know if that happened. I can only guess. But like I said, 2 hours, he's got to be able to do all that. Like, how do you deal with that? Zellner's Bobby theory has him finding the car on the 4th with the police and getting the day planner on the 4th, which is obviously a problem because he had it on the 3rd and used it to call Speckman. So he has it 2 hours after she's reported missing. How does that fit?
Because there's so many different theories of how he could have got the day planner. When someone is involved in planning evidence, and we know that everybody howled out for Steven, Kratz could have found the fucking day planner. One of the cops could have found the day planner and given it to him. They'll never own up to it. But to me, there's so many other possibilities of how that day planner came to pass that it doesn't necessarily mean that Ryan's the killer just because he had a day planner. Like, I'm not ruling Ryan out as far as planning or anything else, but I don't see why Ryan would have killed her when, if you look at their phone records, Ryan was calling her, she was calling Ryan more than Ryan was calling her. I just think they had this weird, sick relationship or this toxic relationship. But I just don't think that he killed her and, desecrated her body and everything else. I just don't. I can't say why. I just don't.
On top of physically having possession of the day planner, which is a problem in itself, but on top of that, he had knowledge that nobody could have had at that time. And that was that she had been to see Stephen Avery that day. Because when he's calling Speckman, like I said, 2 hours after she's reported missing, he's calling Speckman, saying, "I know she was out at your property." Like, he's accusing him of having something to do with her disappearance and saying, I know she was out there that day at your property.
But it was all over the news. And was it ever proven that the notes were put on there by her the morning of 10/31?
Yeah. Both of the, well, 2 hours after she's reported missing, it's not on the news yet, so nobody knew at that time. Like I said, no, not even the police knew at that time. Auto Trader didn't know because the appointment's under B Yonda. Nobody knew that Stephen Avery would have come out of the house and met her. You know what I mean? Like they're expecting probably that B Yonda would come out and meet her, but not Stephen Avery. So nobody knew. Like Auto Trader didn't know. The police didn't know until Colburn went that night, like 7:30. To go see B Yonda, that Stephen was actually the one that she saw. So the police didn't know. Auto Trader didn't know. Like nobody should have known that, but he did, and he's accusing Steve Speckman 2 hours after she's reported missing of, I know she was there at your property that day taking pictures. And yeah, those calls. She's got Dan Morrow, Denise, and Steve Speckman, that all that she spoke to that morning, and she took notes down for each of those three on the day planner that day. And two of those three, of course, have given the affidavits to Zellner that she was driving when they spoke to her. So she's not at home when she wrote that down. So, I have that serious roadblock. Like the Bobby theory is good. It's solid, but I still have that one roadblock. If he's got information and physical possession of a day planner he shouldn't have at that time, that is a huge problem for me to get over. Can't, but it would be good for a jury. This is reasonable doubt. All this stuff on Bobby is really good, though, too.
So a lot of people talk, I've never heard this theory before, that Teresa was pregnant. Have you heard that before? I have never heard that before.
No, well, I think I might have heard people like speculating maybe she was pregnant. Maybe that's why her body was destroyed, to try to hide the identity of the father. But, of course, there's no way to prove that. It's just speculation and ideas.
But wouldn't she have told somebody she was pregnant?
Maybe. Possibly. But we sure haven't heard that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to prove that, though.
Yeah, I mean, if she had told one of her friends, yeah, sure. But I haven't heard that if she had, so. There's a lot of reasons why you would burn a body to destroy evidence, like forensic evidence, fibers and semen and whatever that you might have transferred onto a body. You would, or to hide how they were killed, beaten to death or whatever. A murder weapon, all these things. If you burn a body like to that condition, I think that there's probably a good reason why something like that was done, instead of that she was just killed and her body was just left somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's something weird with that. And it might have had to do with bones are much easier to plant than a full body. You can't just go and throw her body in his backyard,
Okay.
So
and
I could see that.
Ziggy said, and there's the fallacy, no one knew she was meeting SA. So if he's the killer, if he killed her, why would he admit to seeing her?
Right.
And correct, but I think people knew. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty confident that people knew where she was going because there were phone calls being made there. I don't know. I just don't. I think they knew that she was there.
Well, she knew that she was going to the Avery property for sure, and she did say, according to, was it Dawn that she talked to, Dawn Plitzka, one of the Auto Trader ladies, that she called it the Avery brothers. Like she didn't say Stephen Avery because of course she didn't know even. So she doesn't know. and they didn't know. So yeah, if he was the killer, I would definitely think that he would probably lie and say no. Like he would have hidden. He wouldn't have told Chuck, "I've got to go meet the auto trader lady." Like he wouldn't have told Chuck that. He would have just like snuck away, um, done what he was going to do, and then, or even better, make the appointment off the property so nobody saw. There's no witnesses. You know,
Okay.
it's
One
just
of
it's just stupid to.
one of the other facts that gets brought up a lot is um now I just forgot.
Sorry.
Somebody said something. Am I the only person here that thinks SA is the killer, but some of the evidence was planted to secure the conviction? No, Dirk thinks that they're the killer. Oh, that was the other thing. Robert, thank you for popping up, because that was the other thing. Is this, I'm not going to say it right, but the Sicky letter.
Sicky.
Zellner says it really means nothing. She believes it was Scott. You've studied that. What are your thoughts on it? I always said it meant nothing.
Oh, I mean, I haven't really studied it, but I do wonder if somebody who knew was trying to, you know, give the police a tip. Like, who was that, and did that come from Scott's job, from the other employees there, or did that come from like a family member or an accomplice? Like, I don't know who it came from. I think it's probably real. Like, how could they have known that stuff wasn't on the news yet? Like the bones hadn't even been found yet at that point. So how would they know that Teresa had been burned up in any way? So that to me tells me um, it's probably acceptable to think that it's a real tip. Too bad they couldn't, find out who wrote it.
All right. Millbilly just said Earl is buddies with Colburn. Millbilly, it's a small town. Of course they're going to be friends with everybody. That doesn't surprise me. Do you all believe he processed the cremains in or on Quarry and Avery Salvage Yard properties?
What? I don't see it. I believe he processed the cremains in or on. Oh, Ryan, if Ryan did it, yeah, I think Ryan has his own ways that he could have done it, whether it was in the quarry or somewhere else. Just like if it was Bobby or anybody else, I think the quarry is probably the most likely. I have a couple different scenarios, but I think it's most likely that she made it all the way home that day, and Ryan met her there. But then there's also the possibility that he met up with her where she was, because like you said, she called him as much as he called her, or more. And I personally think that was because he was harassing her. And how do you make somebody not show up where you are? You don't ignore their calls, because that's been his pattern. I don't want to say too much, but that's been his pattern, where if she ignores his calls or texts or whatever, he just shows up. So yeah, I would, pat him a little bit and call him back if he calls or something, so he doesn't do that. So yeah, she might have called him all the time to avoid that problem.
What do you feel of Tom Jonda being the murderer?
I've never actually considered him. I don't know much about him at all.
Okay.
I've never even gotten like solid clarification on when he moved out, like if it was right before or right after, and I think it was right before, but I'm not sure on that. So really, I haven't ever really looked into him at all. But the little bit I know about him, I think I've heard that he was he's a pretty cool guy, nice guy, no problems. I don't think he had like a record or violence or anything like that in his history or whatever that I'm aware of. But very limited knowledge. Tom Yanda was Barb's husband at the time.
Okay. Another question was, so then it's possible they met face to face that day and he got the planner.
I think so. I absolutely that's what I think happened. They did meet up, or he came to wherever she was, and then there was a confrontation that got out of hand and there was a fight, and she was either knocked out and taken somewhere else or killed just right then. And yeah, when he's and Cuss Road seems like a pretty reasonable place to think that she might have been taken and temporarily buried there. Her car parked in the trees, like Zoner said, and things taken out of her vehicle, either then or some point later before the 3rd. But yeah.
Okay. Someone else wants to know, was the Sicky letter ever tested for DNA?
I think they
A good question.
fingerprinted it. I think they tried to get prints off of it, I believe. But whatever they did to it, they didn't find anything that I'm aware of. Like there was just nothing. I don't know if they did DNA on it though.
Okay.
My understanding is that you for example, if I have a piece of paper like this,
Okay.
if I'm gonna put fingerprint dust all over it, it'll ruin the swabs you might take for DNA. And of course, when you rub the swab on to take DNA, you're destroying fingerprint evidence that's there. So you can only do one or the other on a surface. I might be wrong about that. But that's my understanding of it. So I do believe they did at least fingerprint, try to get prints off of it.
Okay. Jay, I'm going to answer that. Jay says, going on Laura's Bobby Dassey's killed her theory. Why would he just pull her over and just kill her? Jay, I don't think it was a random thing. They definitely knew each other. I could come up with 1,000 theories of how they were connected. Maybe it was Bobby's baby. Maybe she was pregnant with Bobby's kid and Bobby already had his kids, and Bobby was cheating on his girlfriend and Teresa told Ryan. There's a million theories I can give you. I couldn't give you a definitive on any of them, but I still totally believe in my heart that even if Ryan did get maybe Bobby was following her and Bobby saw her talking to Ryan. And this is like a total theory, but what if Bobby left? Bobby was tracking her. She gets a call, or she doesn't get a call. She sees Ryan. Ryan pulls her over. For some reason, she gives Ryan the day planner. I couldn't tell you why, but she gives Ryan the day planner. Bobby gets all pissed off and freaked out that she was talking to Ryan when she's not supposed to be talking to Ryan for whatever reason. And Bobby goes ballistic and kills her. I mean, you just never know. But I could literally come up with 13 theories of how, why that would happen. I have no idea.
I think what Zoner is kind of leaning towards on her theory is how that happened was that Bobby part of this is speculation, but part of it is based on what she said. But the speculation part would be that he contacted her online, is what it sounds like. So I would, just guessing, think that would mean maybe for her adult photography business. In that way, where he maybe messaged her online or something like that through it was AOL or something. AIM is what it's called. Something like that. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like where you would link your AIM name or something, contact me here, kind of thing. where maybe he did contact her on the computer in that way for an adult photo shoot or something. And he called her or contacted her to set that up, like over at Cuss Road or something. So maybe instead of chasing her out of the property, he set up an appointment with her, knowing what time she'd be there to visit Steven. He set up the appointment right after. So when she comes, he does the thing, jumps in the shower, and she leaves, and he goes after her. Maybe he's not chasing her. Maybe he's just following her to meet at the place that they already set up to meet at. I mean, that's a possibility. It could explain also why there's blood on the door of the back of the car. You know, if she had her Auto Trader camera up in the front of the car and her personal, like, professional camera in the back of the car, like where the photo card thing was found with her name on it. You know, she would obviously not use her Auto Trader little crappy camera. She would use her professional grade camera for something like that, probably. So that might explain why she's got the back door open, and you know, he comes up and they have their scuffle, blood there. That's what I mean. That's what I would think with the Bobby theory.
Okay. What about someone said it, hold on. Okay. Oh, so what if Bobby what if she met them on the road? Bobby was stalking her. Ryan gets the day planner. So Ryan knows what her like when she's going to be able to be there for dinner or something, and Ryan goes on his way. Did you ever look at that side of it for the day of how he got the day planner?
I mean, would you hand your weekly schedule to your ex-boyfriend and just be like, you know, I mean, I can't even think of a reason why she might do that, because there's not anything on there um, that he would use. You know what I mean? Like, that's just her personal call my sister and send somebody a card or whatever she said, and future appointments and stuff.
But wasn't it stated, I don't remember, but wasn't it stated that she had a stalker or that somebody was bothering her
Harassing her, yeah.
or somebody was harassing her? So
Yeah.
maybe she was using Ryan to protect her and gave her the day planner in case something happened since she had just left Avery's. It's very possible.
Well, she said, according to the guy that she talked to online, that her friends are the ones that don't like her going out there to the Avery property, and that she says that, you know, Steven's a nice guy, and she's not, you know, she obviously had no fear going out there. Auto Trader kind of said the same thing, you know, that she knew where she was going, and she clearly was okay with going there, because she did several times. So
Okay,
I don't get
Smitty
it.
says Mo Lee was the stalker. Who is that? Repo Ace says Mo Lee.
Molly. I don't know who that is. I think it was Ryan. I think Ryan was the one harassing her. That's what Tom Pierce said as well. I have my other reasons for believing that on top of that.
He
That
said it was a neighbor. I've never heard this before, and obviously others didn't. Where did you get that information?
to think if I've ever heard that name. Let me see if I have. I don't think I do. No, I don't. I don't have that name anywhere in my stuff. So
I don't think Bobby just flagged her down though. I think there's a lot more to it.
I do too. Because think about that. Like, would you pull over for some random guy flagging you down? I don't care.
It
No.
wasn't a random guy either, though. I believe they knew each other.
Yeah, I don't know that. Like that drug connection, I don't see any like facts or evidence to say that is based on fact. maybe if it was, possibly. I've still never seen anything that shows or proves that they even knew each other at all. I've heard rumors, but not anything factual, so consider it, but I would consider it lightly unless it is based on something that you can factually prove.
Okay. Which brings me to another point. Bobby's story changed that he was there, then he wasn't there, or he left before Zellner, and Stephen Avery left, saw him leave first, whatever. Why would you personally believe Bobby over Stephen or Stephen over Bobby?
I'm actually really curious to know where this new information comes from Stephen saying that like Scott was over during the afternoon and Bobby was already Bobby left and um you know he did say and I might be like misremembering this, but I think in Stephen's latest affidavit he said that Bobby left before he did in previous statements where he said like at some point when he goes into the house to put down the magazine, that's when Bobby leaves. But I think in this new one, correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not 100% don't remember if he's saying that now he knows Bobby left before that, and I could be totally wrong on that. So you know what? Never mind.
No, but you're right, because he says that it used to be that he left right after Teresa, and now it's he left before Teresa,
Before,
or
yeah,
vice versa.
something like that. Like I remember it was something different. Like Steven's statement changed a bit, and I'm curious where that came from, because when stuff like the sink blood disappearing, like that's something he's been saying since the day he was arrested on the news, that like 2 days after he's arrested on the news again saying it. He's been saying it all along. So when he says something like that now with Zellner, that's not new information, that's old information.
Mm.
She's finally listening to him. But something like this, I've never heard it before. Like where did that come from? I'm curious to know about that.
My educated guess is gonna be that Zellner found evidence and told Stephen of the evidence, and that's where the story changed. That's my guess. That Stephen's original story may not have made sense, as compared to the evidence that Zellner found. So Zellner tells Stephen, "Hey, this is what I found. Are you sure that he left before, Teresa or right after Teresa, whatever?" That's my guess. Um, I mean, Stephen is not exactly Renee, I'm gonna get to that in a second. Stephen is not exactly um an upstanding citizen per se. I mean, he's had his issues, so it wouldn't surprise me to change his story, that he changed his story. Like, I don't think that's groundbreaking. But I do believe that it probably has to do with Zellner.
That bothers me. I'm like
The evidence per se.
I'm really not comfortable with him changing his story, adding things like that to it that look more damning towards Bobby. And even if it is just for the Bobby theory, like I don't like, because what I have appreciated about Steven is that his story's been the same. He's always said the same thing. He's not changed it. He's not added to it. He's not taken away from it. It's always been the same. Now it's a little bit different. And I can't really justify, like, I can't understand why that happened. I'm not going to just say, well, he's lying, because I obviously don't know that, but I'm curious about it for sure. I'd like to know why that happened or how that came about. And I hope it's for honest reasons. Um,
That's why I think it's changed, honestly. Now, somebody else said something that I wanted to address. Observant. Scott visited Bobby earlier in that day, not Barb, the woman he's dating. That's weird. Why would he visit Bobby? He rarely knew him at that time. That's actually not true. I said this earlier. Scott Taddick is Pete Jonda's cousin. So all family reunions, for the whole time Barb and Pete were married, Scott was there. Scott knew those kids. Scott knew Barb. Scott knew the family. So it's not that he barely knew them. That's why the whole bullshit about he didn't know who Brendan was ridiculous and complete fabricated. So that I wanted to address.
My understanding was that he didn't, like, he knew who they were, but like he didn't personally know, like he didn't have a relationship with them. You know, kind of like I know a lot of my family, but I'm not very close with them and I don't hang out with them. I don't go to family reunions and stuff like that. So, you know, I know who they are, but I don't really, would I recognize them? Probably not, because I haven't seen them in so long. I remember hearing something about like he didn't know them at all. I've not heard any evidence of them having a friendship, relationship, hunting together at any time ever, ever, with any of the kids, between Scott and any of the kids.
Okay, so if that's the case, then tell me how they knew it was each other going 50 miles an hour, driving
Exactly.
the opposite ways.
I really do believe that was completely set up and made up. I think that's just a lie. And if I had to guess why, if I wanted to be like reasonable, Steven's been wrongly convicted. He's already being blamed for stuff. The police are like, we might point at you, threats coming out, and we need you to do this and exaggerate your story. Like, I could see why they might get together and be like, yo, I have no alibi. I was doing this, or I was here and nobody saw me. Nobody knows. So yeah, let's say we saw each other, you know. Let's come up with an alibi to alibi each other. I could see that happening, whether it's because they were involved in the murder, they did that, or if it's because they weren't and they didn't want to be blamed. I could see it happening either way, you know, something like that maybe.
Okay. Now, do you guys have, I can't think of any other myth versus truth that off the top of my head. So if you guys can think of one, let me know, because I do have to cut this soon though. So how far is Allie from the Averys? She lives in Chicago.
Yeah, in like 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yes, Pete is Barb's ex-husband. Pete married Lori, Steven's ex-husband. Steven's ex-wife. Actually, so Juan says country folk literally can tell people by the vehicle they drive.
Yeah, you know, and growing up in the like small town country stuff, like everybody waves at everybody when they pass, so they do kind of acknowledge each other. I can see that sort of thing happening too, possibly. But going that fast, I don't know. It depends. If it was Scott was just pulling out and he hadn't gotten up to a high speed yet, maybe I could see that happening. Did they know each other well enough to recognize the vehicles? Probably. If he had been over to pick up Barb several times before, he probably would know that's Bobby's blazer or whatever.
Greg just asked a question that I want to address with you on this, because I think we definitely see eye to eye on this. Greg asked, do you think KZ is in this for the notoriety? KZ doesn't need the notoriety, but KZ is also 62 years old. Most people retire at 65. If she was a young attorney, 25, just getting her career started, hands down, 100% absolutely. But there's no reason for her to have all this notoriety. She already had 18 or 17 exonerations under her belt. There was no reason for her to have so much notoriety when she's probably going to retire soon. So I don't believe that whole notoriety thing. And I think Allie would agree with me.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would think, you know, she is overloaded with people saying, "Hey, I'm innocent. My case is really like jacked up. You know, help. I can prove it," and you know, blah blah blah. So she's probably just got so many requests for help that she just ignored them. She couldn't get to them. She can't take them all. And when Making a Murder comes out, she has that reason to be like, oh, you know what? I see that and I can do something with that. Like, I got that, like she already probably had a plan how she was going to make that happen. And yeah, so I think it had to do, like, obviously that's why she got into it, was after Making a Murder. She didn't have to read the whole case file, she just watched the documentary and she's got it, she's got the gist of it. She's like, yeah, I can, that's a wrongful conviction. I can do something with that. Let's look into
Okay.
it. But yeah, notoriety, I agree with you.
And also, Greg, hold on. He wrote something
Spicy,
else.
spicy.
Um,
I think it's Ryan. She asked me who did it. I obviously don't know. I'm not going to say 100%, but I lean more towards Ryan than anybody. Until that day planner stuff can be explained, I can't let it go.
oh, Greg, I addressed this yesterday and made a public apology where I was wrong for this. Her unprofessional tweets, per se, I don't know if you were here earlier. It hit me with like a ton of bricks yesterday. It is because reasonable doubt. She's doing exactly what Kratz did in reverse effect. So Kratz went out there stating all this bullshit, to taint a jury. Zellner's basically doing the same thing. She's targeting every single person out there that could possibly be on a jury if and when she gets a new trial. So I know it may seem unprofessional, and some of them are. Some of them I totally agree with, but so does the fucking president of the United States. I also don't believe that all of her tweets are hers. I don't think any of her tweets are hers. I can't see Zellner sitting behind a computer when she has all these exonerations and all these cases. Hey, let me go ahead and start tweeting. I don't buy it. I think it's all her, what you call it? Her assistants and stuff.
Whatever.
So, people may say, oh, unprofessional, but look at Kratz. Kratz is way more unprofessional and he won a case. So I really do believe she's just trying to cause, uh, whatchamacallit? She's just trying to cause reasonable doubt for anybody that could potentially be on that jury.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, like kind of leveling the playing field so they're not all leaning towards Kratz's narrative like they were before with the press conference, because that's basically, he's just having an extended press conference now, going on all these media tours and whatever the hell he's doing, talking to people. He's still trying to pull that crap and sway the future jury. So she's like, nope, shut it down.
And you also have to remember, I really don't think that she would be spending all of this money. Like, I spoke about this podcast yesterday, and I'll say it again. These two forensic scientists they were really good to listen to, but they even said that the experts she used, you can't get any better. Like, they are the top of their field. I'm sure they didn't do it for free. And I think she had made a comment that it was like $600,000 or something that she spent to date. Brendan's attorneys, I know, have spent well over 1.5 million. So, you think about that. Nobody's going to do that for notoriety. This is money out of her pocket that she probably will never get back. And I hate to say it like that, but this is probably her toughest case she's ever had. And I think she's trying a lot of different things to win it, but she just doesn't know how to win it. Like, but she still laid out all of this money, and nobody's going to lay out, $1 million just to get notoriety. I just don't see it.
Right. She definitely sees something. I mean, that's why she shuts down all that Alfred plea stuff. Hell no, because she's got to get her money back. That comes from the civil suits that will follow the exoneration. So, like, no way. She's going to get her money back that she put in up front, and she's, going to get paid.
Mhm.
So, she won't take a case unless she believes that it's going to go that far and win the civil suit. So they must be innocent. They better be innocent. She's going to prove it.
Bill Billy, I don't believe they spent $2.5 million to convict him. I absolutely don't. I think that's total blown up number. There is no way. They didn't have experts. They didn't have anything that would warrant that kind of money at all. And it was a fast trial. So maybe the investigation cost money, but not that trial. That's bullshit. I don't believe that at all.
I'm curious where those numbers come from. Like where do all the how do people have that information? Is that actually shown somewhere that we
Well,
can see?
Millbilly said it's in the city budget. I know that Laura and Drizzen have spent it because I've spoke to people that know them and have told me that they've spent over 1.5 million
Yeah.
to date, but they've been on his case a long time.
So if it's in the state budget, like how do you know how much of that 2.5 million went towards convicting Stephen and not for somebody else? Like is that broken down somewhere that I don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying like if it does, I've never seen it and I'd like to see where something like that is because
I just can't see
nobody
where
did
the
that.
2.5 million came from. Like, based on what? They didn't have top experts. They didn't have I mean, maybe that was going in their pockets. You had public defenders and even what you call it? Even who said it? Oh, the bullshit with Mike Kelly. He tried to charge that's what it was. And if it was that high, it's because too many things were high up. Okay, so Brady just said he got it from Ducky's video. So
Did she show that on there, that document?
it doesn't mean
Because
it's that real document though, but we're not going to go there.
I mean,
Uh,
I haven't seen that video, so I don't know.
um Jelly 60K. Mhm.
Laura Nyrider is very pretty.
Do you guys believe Steven and his nephew will get out? Emmett, I want to say yes, but the reality is I don't think so.
I do.
And it's nothing against Zellner. There's no other attorney that can do it better. Hey Juan, you live there. Do you think they spent $2.5 million or you think have you ever heard that before? No, like Juan says, when has government ever paid regular price for anything? And I agree with that, but it was like escalated more. Like Mike Kelly wanted $5,000 a day or something, and Len Kaczynski tried to put it in for like $5,000 a day, and they ended up like slicing it, saying, "Why is he getting $5,000 a day?" So it's possible. Nicola Casey is only going to receive return on her money if she gets him out of jail. If she doesn't get him out of jail, she's not going to see anything. I'm cautiously optimistic, but don't think they will ever get out either. I want to say it. Who cares if Laura's pretty or not? She's doing a great job doing what she does. Dirk, shut up. So, do you guys have any more questions that you want to ask? There is a chance for getting out. Hey Juan, have you ever heard that budget number before?
I definitely think, like Zellner said, she won't take anybody that she doesn't think is, she will prove that they're guilty or she'll prove that they're innocent and she'll find a way to get them out eventually. I mean, it might take a long fight, but I think eventually she'll win it. Yeah. Or she wouldn't be there, She's put a hell of a lot of money into it oh, thank you. She's put a hell of a lot of money into it to not get that money back. So if she's confident, I'm confident in her.
But that's the thing. You don't know if she's actually confident or you don't know if it is smoke and mirrors as far as what she truly, truly believes.
Like, I mean, would you take a big chance on somebody? Like, if you weren't sure that you would get that money back, to put that kind of money up front.
But that's what lawyers do.
Years of fighting and all that. I can see why she would need to be pretty confident that she's going to win in the end. I mean, that's what she said all along.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, I'm gonna win, I think is what it said. One of her first tweets that I remember seeing, and I saved it.
The one thing that bothers me about what she said recently is that if she can't get him out means he's guilty. No, that's not what it means, because she's going up too much against a corrupt case. That too much of a corrupt people to be able to definitively say that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that was a fair statement, because she could easily not get them out because of the corruption and him still be innocent.
Yeah.
Juan, can you find those numbers and see if those numbers are real? Like, you got an in.
Well, I think Millbilly said he was going to go get the document. Like he has it or something. I don't know that he can post it here, but if he could show you, like on your Facebook page or something,
Yeah,
I'll
you can send
pop
them to
over and
Facebook.
check it out.
And Sean's right. SA at the very least deserves a new trial. No, she's going to declare. And Karen just posted that podcast that I was talking about. I want Scooby to watch that. I don't know if she has or not, but I really want her. I want her opinion on it. Thanks, Wendy. Oh, they want to know if you would do phone sex, Allie, with that voice.
God. You have to pay me hell of money and give me a script, because I don't know how to even go there. Nope. I'm not a thinking on the fly kind of person with that nonsense.
Aw. All right, guys, phone sex is out for Allie.
Sorry.
Um,
Unless you're gonna hella money. I'm a broke girl.
Juan, I was looking to see if that 2.5 million was actually accurate. Step away to look up a link and how this is hot or not.
Right.
See what happens when you walk away, Karen. She does have a great voice. And all right, so has SA or Brendan had any contact since they both been in jail? I don't think so, actually.
I don't believe they're allowed to communicate.
But I think Stephen didn't want to communicate with Brendan for a long time. Because Brendan is the one that said, Brendan, in Stephen's mind, Brendan put him away. You know, without Brendan, they wouldn't have been able to convict Stephen, which still makes no sense to me. How they both got charged for the same crime with two different motives. It's two different reasons. It just doesn't make any sense.
I hung up on the call.
What?
I hung up on you for a minute.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Somebody asked me something, I don't remember, and I probably didn't hear it because I was hanging up, apparently. Sorry.
It's okay. So the last question was, do you think Brendan, they had contact?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think they're allowed to communicate, and you said that you think that Stephen didn't want to. I don't know about that for sure, like how he felt. But I don't believe they're allowed to communicate directly. I know I've heard that said by the family, so.
Can't they write each other?
I don't believe they can.
Really?
Yeah, because they're both inmates. Like I don't know for sure. Like I definitely wouldn't know, but I've heard that from the family that they're not allowed to communicate. I would imagine that probably means through the mail, because how would they call each other?
So, Greg, I addressed this before. Good night, Nicola. I addressed this before. Understand that the state's theory does matter. The state's theory is everything that are in our justice system. So if you it's kind of like the Denny motion. It's like the opposite of the Denny motion. You can't turn around and say, "Hey, you know what? This person did it. Oh, okay, we'll let you off now because that person did it." You can't do that with the defense. In the same way, the prosecution can't come up with their own theory just because they think you did it and put you in jail for life. That's not the way our justice system works. You just can't do it. There could be law against it, especially if the same crime reasons. This is why they're in prison. Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both convicted for the same incident, so they can't talk. Is that just a Wisconsin thing? Because like you look at the Menendez brothers, they're, together again. So that's why I was wondering. Like if that's just Wisconsin that you can't do that. Because it's definitely not federal.
What Phyllis said, I think that's right. They also wouldn't put them in the same jail or prison. They would, keep them separated so they can't communicate.
Okay.
That seems logical enough. Like if they can't communicate, they put them in separate jails like that. Like, yeah, to keep them separated.
And Ben, you don't have to be an attorney to know this. This is common knowledge 101.
Well, also the family has said that. So, I'm not an attorney, but I imagine that they have spoken to the attorneys and they have been told by them that they're not allowed to. I mean, over this many years, you would imagine that the question has come up, can they? And that was the answer given, I would imagine.
Greg, I'm dead wrong on what? I'm dead wrong of what I said. I'm not dead wrong at all.
He said in jury instructions, the jury is told not to take the opening or closing statements as evidence. Evidence is to be weighed by the jury as to be found credible or not.
But that's standard, Greg. That's because you don't want a jury basing it on feelings. Doesn't matter what the opening or closing statements is. It's a matter of can they prove it. A jury, as discussed earlier, a jury is supposed to base things solely on evidence. So you're not supposed to base it on feelings. So in order to base it on evidence, you have to go by the trial, not opening or closing statements. I missed that before, but yeah, I'm dead right on that.
Yeah, right. In the opening statement, like the prosecutor would say, this is what we're going to prove. Like this, here is what we're going to show you. And at the end, of course, the jury is told, make your decision based on did the prosecution prove their case? Did they prove the things that they said they would prove? Does what they showed you prove what they said it proves? They decide on that. And I think that's what Zellner's doing right now. She's showing that the narrative, the theory that the prosecution convicted Stephen on is not how it happened. And so if she can rip their theory apart, that's how she'll probably end up getting a new trial. That's my understanding of it. That is I'm pretty sure that's what she said in her last Q&A. I don't have to prove he's innocent. I have to destroy the case, the state's theory.
That's exactly right.
Something like that is what she said.
And to clarify something, no, Greg, you're 100% wrong. A closing statement is not the theory. A closing statement is some surmise of an overall of the entire prosecution's case. It's not definitively a theory. It has to do with the summing up the entire case. That's what a closing argument is. The narrative is the evidence, the blood and DNA. I'm ignoring them.
Well, like,
Summarization. spicy.
Fallon, was it Fallon? I can't remember. Gone. It was Gone, I think. At the end of Brendan's trial, uh, innocent people don't confess. That's not a fact. And he said it in the closing argument, you know, I believe. So that's not a fact of the case. That's not a fact, period. So the jury shouldn't have considered that, even though he did throw that in there. He's obviously trying to sway them in that direction. You should believe that an innocent person doesn't confess. How they can just say those things, I don't know how they get away with that. That just seems wrong.
It is wrong. And lastly, your personal opinion on this, because this, I will never, ever understand this at all. They were convicted, and I've discussed this many times. How do you convict two people for the same crime with two completely different stories? I will never understand this. I can't understand this. Two completely fabricated evidence too. Your opinion on this?
Oh, I agree. I don't understand how they can do that, because obviously they both can't be true. Like, both versions cannot be true. So you already know at least one of those is the damn lie, right? So why are both of them still in prison? Why has that not been determined? Which one of these is a freaking lie? Because they both cannot be true. How they get away with that stuff, I don't understand either. But obviously it's allowed for some reason, because it happened. And you would think that if it wasn't allowed, that something would have happened by now to correct it. So I can only assume it must legally be okay for them to do that, which makes no sense to me.
Do you guys have any final questions? We've been going like a long time. Do you guys have any myths you're curious about? Renee says Colburn. Renee, can you elaborate?
Colburn's lawsuit? Interesting.
I meant to mute him. There we go. Do I believe in Bigfoot? No. I was saying who was involved in both cases. See, Renee, I know Allie's going to agree with me on this, and this gets really tricky. If you want to say Colburn did it, then you have to eliminate everything that Zellner said, because Zellner recently stated that Manitowoc police are not involved anymore, that she knows that Manitowoc police didn't set anyone up. So because of that, you kind of have to look at it as, you know what? I can't blame Colburn anymore if that's what Zellner's saying. And I think Allie would agree with me on that.
I think what she said was very specific evidence. Like, I don't believe they planted the RAV4. I don't believe they planted the blood. I don't believe they planted whatever she listed. But as far as I remember, she left out stuff like the hood latch swab and the bullet and possibly the key. I don't remember for sure what all she did not list. But she ruled them out on some of the other stuff because she believes that the killer is the one that planted all that stuff. And whether that killer is Ryan or Bobby, she believes Ryan planted the car. So, like, the police are ruled out on all those other things, but there's still some there. I'm pretty sure that she didn't list. She does think that they planted some stuff, but not as much, not everything, and not as much as maybe we had originally thought in the first trial or whatever.
Okay. 3 questions from 3 different people. Lisa wants to know if you think he'll ever get a settlement.
Do yeah. I think Zellner will eventually, exonerate him, and there will be a civil suit to follow. And I would imagine he would win if they're able to exonerate him, I think it's just almost like a matter of how much.
Okay. Ziggy wants to know.
But I'm not a lawyer, so don't. I don't know that for sure. I'm just saying.
Ziggy wants to know that she asked about the second letter that was found. Ziggy, can you elaborate on that?
Second letter.
And Karen wants to know for both of us, if an evidentiary hearing is granted, is there one thing you can think of to change the outcome? That's a great question, Karen. I honestly don't think I have an answer though.
Like, do you mean, Karen, do you mean, like, is there one piece of evidence that would alone exonerate Stephen? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Is there one thing that you could think of that would change the outcome?
One thing on its own. I mean, I think, I mean, I'm not an expert for sure. I don't know a lot about it. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge on what all it takes to exonerate somebody. But my understanding is that it could happen on one thing, like a Brady violation. It could happen on one thing, like the bones testing, proving that Teresa was in the quarry, that she was killed in the quarry, which, you know, messes up the state's theory of her being burned in the burn pit. So I think it could maybe happen on one, but when you add them all together, I just, since that is how it will be, you know, it'll be all of the accumulation of all of the things. There's so many options, so many things that could sway it in that direction.
Okay. I honestly don't have an answer. I think there's a lot of different things that could cause it. Are you guys seeing buffering or is it just my screen?
I don't see
I'm seeing buffering. Um Lee says he can't go for the same 36 million. He already settled for 40, but he'll be able to file a new lawsuit. Absolutely. Believe me, she is going for broke. Like, she's not going to let them get away with it. She's going to go for as much as possible. 100%.
Yeah, he's got a completely new lawsuit now.
Yeah, we talked about that. All right, guys, hang on 1 second. Hey.
Juan, that's funny.
Wow. I can't drive to Nashville now.
Ow.
What do you mean, why?
Sorry, I'm looking for questions. I don't see any. Let me see. I see the screen changing from you to Allie, like flickering. You know what? My camera's been flickering. Maybe it's my thing messing it up. I agree, Tattooed. I think that's his plan, to get out of Wisconsin.
All right, Dayton, let me call you back in a minute. Love you. There
was a second letter that was emailed about but never really looked at, and the actual letter is missing. I don't know what what Ziggy's talking about. What video? What was it about, Holly? What did I post the other day? I don't even remember. I would too. Spicy. So would Laura. She would like to see me do more videos.
Believe me, I've been telling her that for a long time.
Yeah. I want to know more about this letter. What is this? A second letter that was emailed but never really
Shweezy, you don't have to admit you're guilty. You just have to been charged guilty. Like, you can get parole if you're still claiming innocent. Oh, you're saying once you're in jail. I got it, I got it. I thought you meant, like, when you just get out and you're on parole. To clear the record, I've been telling Allie for a month to do more videos, to do her own videos and build her own channel.
Yeah.
But I am gonna have to cut this because I need to figure out if I have to drive to Nashville now, which is an hour and 10 minutes away, which is insane. I don't know why he can't pull over and get a hotel if he's that tired. But welcome to my world. But I want to totally thank Allie for coming.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been fun.
And you are welcome anytime, Allie. I'm really glad you came. And there were more things that I thought of that I couldn't think of tonight. I don't know why I just couldn't. And I agree. We want to see Allie do an explanation in her videos. I totally agree. Yeah, the only way I can drive to Nashville right now is my friend is home to lend me a car. Otherwise, I'm not driving to Nashville. Because I'm not like renting a car, putting $200 lock to drive to Nashville and back. That's retarded. So you're welcome. And I will see you guys. Believe me, I'm probably not driving to Nashville, Spicy. I really don't want to. You can't hit me at 11 o'clock at night and say, hey, you're gonna have to drive to Nashville. Yeah, okay.
Right.
So Allie, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
Talked. And Laura, hold on a minute. Missy says, yeah, Uber to Nashville is a little far. But here's my thing. If you're gonna Uber to Nashville, what are you gonna do in Nashville? You're gonna have to get a hotel. So get a hotel with them. And I'll see you guys in the morning. I mean, it makes no sense. He's not gonna drive back 9 hours. So call Dial to help you out. Yeah, right? So all right, guys, have a wonderful night. I think Ericos is live, maybe. His mod said before that he was going live, so he must be live. So I will see you guys. I know this was a surprise video, but I will see you guys on Sunday or Monday for sure. And peace out. And I will see you guys next week.